Attention shoppers, back-to-back blue light specials on aisle 57 and 58.
Welcome to Blue Light Special, the podcast for CPG brand marketers who want to lighten up their hustle in retail and real life. I'm Christine Wright.
And I'm Trevor Lewis. We're here to decode the mysteries of retail and give you some insider hacks to make your brand talk of the shelf. Let's get into this week's episode. Welcome. Let's get into this week's episode where we explore the world of POP signage and temporary displays with in-store design displays. Very own Martha Tucci. She's director of project management and is the person who makes sure the wheels don't fall off the train as it's going full steam ahead. She'll be joining us later in the episode. But first, Christine, what's kind of happening in your world?
Well, let's talk about what's happening that I have seen lately. And I will say it is, and this might be a little odd for retail, but it's storefront portals. We're starting to see a lot more ask from brands. And I think, and you can give me your take on it, Trevor, but I feel like it's happening because there are a lot of mergers and brands coming together under an umbrella, which unfortunately means you're letting some staff go. So there's less people to basically keep the train moving. But you're still trying to manage all of the brand assets and the spend and what's the most efficient way to do that. And now we're seeing asks for storefront portals to control spend and control and manage brand integrity.
Yeah, it's definitely been associated to probably like 75 or 80% of all of our conversations that we're having in some regard. I think that the challenge that they're trying to solve for, I think there's a few different factors. Definitely, you mentioned what I believe is the majority of them. I also think that as a whole, we're still figuring out how to work post-pandemic.
Yes.
And figuring out, what is the right headcount across all organizations.
How lean can you go?
How lean can you go? What are the efficiencies? Where are there opportunities to streamline? Because I think for a while, people was just anything that they thought would make it a little bit efficient, they just buy it. And then now CFOs are scrutinizing everything. As they certainly should. But I think that's another factor is you've got hybrid, remote, these different scenarios as well. And so, how do you look at a centralized, functionality that streamlines a lot of it? Then in addition to what are some of the other objectives, which is, kind of approvals, right? When you think about just the hybrid and remote setting, that makes something as simple as an approval a little bit more complicated now. And so I think that that's one thing that they're looking at is how do we streamline approvals when we got field sales teams that have specific desires of what they're looking for in order to support their clientele or their channel or whatever that it may be. And those are fairly diverse. They can be diverse on regions or on categories or whatever the scenario is. But you got a bunch of field sales teams that are continuously trying to work within marketing departments on what type of assets they need to support them. And it's not typically a one-size-fits-all either. So there's a lot of unique customization within each one of those requests. And so as, someone who's responsible for managing all of that, that becomes difficult the more layers that you add on to that. And so I think that that's one thing that they're trying to definitely solve for. And then just brand integrity, just how we manage the brand so that we don't have, a bunch of different colors of our brand out there.
Well, and you don't have your field sales reps going rogue and just ordering whatever. And
yes.
Corporate has no visuals of that, and to know what's going on, it's a way to kind of wrangle.
It definitely wrangles that in. And then, I think that there's this thought that also you can kind of streamline your purchasing power as well. And ultimately drive down and get closer to more transparent pricing, which I think is, what the CFO definitely wants just for planning purposes, but being able to consolidate all that spend as the first step of saying, hey, we spent this X amount of money with this company versus these 16 suppliers. Are we getting the best price? Are we getting the best quality? I mean, all of that becomes extremely complicated and difficult to manage. And so I believe that we're at the forefront of it. I think that this online portal, not every client's going to have the same desired functionality, and so there needs to be some flexibility. But you want to understand how much inventory we have.
Yeah.
What do we need to reorder? What does this team need? How do we manage their requests? I think that everyone's looking for a tool that is technology to help solve for it. So,
and I think the way we look at things, honestly, just coming from a print background, storefront portals have been around for a long time. They were really meant to just kind of drive digital print and personalization and variable data back in the day, but they have evolved so much over time that now it's not just kind of a widget or a tool. It's something that we can customize as a functionality process driven tool for our clients. But something to keep in mind is user experience on the client end. How is your marketing team and your purchasing team and your sales reps using this, and how user friendly is it? Because quite honestly, at the end of the day, people want something as easy as what they're doing personally buying. Like you're going on an Amazon, you're putting it in a cart. That's about it. I mean, it's very, very user friendly. And I think for us as an offering to our clients, we have to be cognizant of that and make sure that whatever we're offering fits their needs, but is very user friendly.
Yeah. I mean, because the reality is we've even been managing an in-store design display inventory for years and years and years. And it's evolved into a little bit better UX experience, but it still in large part looks like an Excel sheet, functions like an Excel sheet. And, I think Martha will be on later and she'd be like, oh yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
If you gave me that, I'd be like,
but not everybody's Martha.
Yeah, not everyone. And so you're absolutely right. The thing that's happened is we're all consumers of digital shopping experiences now. Whether we like it or not, but that set a level of expectation. So if it's not as easy as the Amazon experience, the adoption is going to going to fail.
It's almost like execution at store level. If these are not adopted, these storefronts, they're kind of useless. Same with if it isn't executed at store level, it's kind of useless. So the end result really has to be at the forefront before you start.
It definitely does. The other thing that we're helping, clients as they kind of navigate this or explore it is it's really easy to think about technology for solving your most current state. And when you look at technology and you have to understand what all has to take place in order to get it, adopted and being utilized the way that everyone envisions it, is you also have to map out a little bit to your future state and understand plan for growth. So if you're planning on having 5 immediate users, but you didn't talk with HR and they plan to grow headcount by 30%.
Yeah, you're going to onboard all of these users later
then
on.
You could get into some challenges because of just the limitations or functionality. So I think that's probably the number one thing that we're definitely consulting our clients on right now is let's understand your current state. Let's map out to a little bit of what you believe the future state, and let's make sure that this thing, offers some flexibility to help grow with you. And so that's just the number one piece of advice that we're, regardless of whether we're working with you or not. The other thing I think is important is map the process. Either have lived in the process.
Yes.
We've looked at technology. I've mentioned it on the show before. It's always people, process, then technology. The idea always places technology right after people. And so I think that it's important to understand, the process, right? And we've got a large client that we're working with implementing a new portal system, and, they're interested in current state only needing 25 users. But they want to be able to potentially expand to 1,000+ users.
That's a lot.
Well, that process is simple as how are you going to manage sign in and sign out as in terms of just a username and pass, like what happens when that, 1,000 person decides that this job's no longer for me? How does that process evolve? Is just one initial thought that we've kind of made sure that we need to kind of outline and map out. So I think the portal, because everyone is looking for how do we create some efficiencies, will continue to be top of mind for a lot of the shopper marketing brand managers, especially as they work amongst the agencies, the production teams, the fulfillment teams. Good news is we can help consolidate that as well, but I think that they're often spanning across all of those different suppliers and partners. And so I think this is one way that you can actually create an integrated system, is through a level of a portal of some sort. All right, let's get into our next segment, which is show and tell.
Look what I have got for
this is
you.
where Christine and I share our most recent personal experience in retail. I know you've seen something coming out of Boulder, Colorado. Tell us what's some of the trends you've seen.
Well, the trend that I'm seeing, and I know we're seeing because we've had this conversation, is just brand collaborations. There's so many, either brand to brand or celebrity to brand, but one that comes to mind is Boost Mobile and Coach Prime. I mean,
Yes.
Neon Dion.
Look
that
good, feel
partnership good. And I mean they truly have. I actually just kind of dug into it a little bit because it just amazed me that definitely it's speaking to a certain demographic and target market, but they have a specialized Motorola Razr phone. It's golden black, it's signed by Dion, and it has his mantra, "You gotta believe," on the actual phone. So yeah, it's limited time only kind of thing, but it's very cool.
They definitely leaned into that, the influencer strategy, and understand, Dion's level of influence. Some of the campaigns they run have been pretty cool as well. So I know that, I follow Dion on Instagram. So I've seen him just promoting it as the influencer, but they've also had to place some of those phones across campus. So where he's the head coach, they placed some of those, like a scavenger hunt, which then created additional media around it. Obviously, his media extends outside of just him as an individual. His son, Shiloh, is one of the top 2 or 3 NIL paid college athletes as well. So all of his entire family is, rich and understanding influencer as well. So it really expands outside of Dion into his additional network when you just think about how do we create awareness on this, which has been cool to see. Then they've also did what we always talk about, is how do you create a true omni experience, and they've deployed, and the messaging and signage is also the same in store as what they're doing digitally or in the influencer channels. So I'm curious to how
it was very smart of Boost Mobile.
It's definitely
good collaboration.
And they knew that they've got to really put their stake in the ground, right? I mean, the competition in that market is tough when you think about the big players, and so when you think about how do we penetrate within our audience, I mean, kudos to them, because I think that they definitely created some awareness within that partnership. What's anything else on the brand collaboration?
Well, I think we've mentioned it before, the Elf Liquid Death collaboration. That's just very cool. I just think it's cool. I'm an Elf consumer. I don't know that I've had Liquid Death. I think you have. But I'm a big Elf consumer, and just not 2 brands I would put together, but it was really cool. Yeah, and they pulled that off.
And what's cool is you're seeing this. I mean, you would think some of these tactics would be deployed on more of your emerging brands, but you're seeing legacy brands lend into this brand collaboration as well. So I know that we saw another one with Barbie, and so Heinz had
the pink barbecue Barbie sauce, Pepto-Bismol pink packaging, but it's all pink. It's Barbie.
It was Barbie. And they had tomato ketchup or something. What was it? And then barbecue sauce. So I again, like many of the other trends that we've recognized, if you do it right, it's extremely effective. But I think what I believe they're all trying to accomplish is, how do we pattern interrupt? We've been Heinz ketchup for
be unique, be different.
Can we do? Be unique. You're also trying to attract, new purchasers. So when you think about getting in younger generations or older generations, you've got to be able to kind of connect with them on where they're at, or what are some of the things that they're thinking about. So I really love it. I think it just makes it a little bit more interesting.
It's just more fun in the marketplace.
So I'm curious at what are going to be some of the, at a year from now, where are we going to be sitting here thinking about which other brands did we not see happening as a brand collaboration. So kudos to, all of them that are kind of testing the limits on who they're collaborating with.
So today we would like to welcome Miss Martha Tucci to the podcast. Welcome, Martha. We
Hi.
are so happy to have you, and I know you're thrilled to be doing this for us. Just as thrilled as Jackie was.
It's not really in my core competency, I'll just say.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll stretch you a little today. Well, a little bit about Miss Martha. She's with In-Store Design Display. She's the Director of Project Management. She's a seasoned professional with a comprehensive understanding of print production, corrugate and temporary, semi-permanent, and permanent display production. Martha actually truly went to school for this. I know we say a lot that we didn't go to school for this, but Martha went to school for this and built her 3-decade career around print production. Her proficiency extends beyond the creative aspects to include a deep understanding of logistics, ensuring the seamless execution of projects from concept to delivery. Martha's commitment to staying abreast of industry trends and her extensive product knowledge make her an invaluable asset in navigating the complexities of print and display production. So welcome, Martha. And to kick us off, tell us how you got into print and why you went to school for this.
Well, I grew up in a rural town in the middle of Missouri near Lake Pomme de Terre, and there were some I didn't have classes I could take in my junior year, so I took a Vogue Tech class, which was in Buffalo, Missouri, in Lewisburg. But my classes were for photography half the year and print half the year. So I was very interested in photography, but I learned about print, and it was much more interesting. And so I ended up going to Central Missouri State University, because that's what it was called then.
Mm-hmm.
And for the printing program they have there, basically CMSU and Pittsburgh both had programs that have now been eliminated. So it's back to,
I knew
we didn't go to
big.
school for that.
Yeah.
They're more around the design portion now than the actual print production. So it's just a little different, but that's what got me into print.
Well, I know that you've kind of stayed that path your entire career. But have you stayed with what you went to school for, or how did that transition as you went through your career?
So I spent 17 years between 2 different printing companies, one being Spangler Printers. Most people are familiar with from before they got too big to so big they were bought out
just a few times. But you and I actually worked together at Spangler.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that was in the earlier years. But
1900s.
after that, I was like, no numbers. In 2000, I moved to a company that did permanent and temporary displays, and most of what I learned in printing, as far as the manufacturing process, the steps involved, the quality required, translated to many of the other processes used to produce corrugate displays, permanent displays, and those kind of things. So even though I stepped away from traditional commercial print, it was a background for what was needed to know about those kind of displays.
So because you kind of made that tradition over all of those years from strictly print to then into retail, how do you stay relevant to continue to evolve as you move forward with your career?
So it's hard because there's so much going on all the time. There's something new to learn, and I geek out a little bit on the understanding the machines themselves, not just the capabilities of a company, but what kind of equipment they use to produce what we need. And so I think that keeps me involved a lot more, because understanding how these new machines are working and what the trends are. The trend is all towards digital, of course, and but just learning the capabilities and understanding where we can push the limits to be a little bit more competitive.
I know that back in the day, press checks were a thing, and they kind of no longer are for customers, but you'll still do press checks for our work, correct?
Yes. If we're doing something new or a color group we haven't done or a one-time piece will be at press. So our goal on press is to sign the first sheet, because that means we've done everything ahead of that correctly. But one reason that we want to be there is to make sure that we didn't make a mistake. Just one more time to look at it before you've paid for the paper. So we're checking color, we're checking all those things that go along with it, size, is it backed up right? Occasionally those kind of things, all part of a press okay. You're looking at color densities, you're looking at color values and just how it looks to you visually, as well as making sure that everything's on that page. And this is not the time to do review for typos,
No.
okay? Because they get costly after you've made plates.
Yes. Well, you kind of, and I geek out with you. I know that you and I are kind of the nerds around, the print nerds around here. And when we start talking, everybody says it's in a different language.
Yeah, they don't know what language you're speaking.
No, but when it comes to like all of the different print processes, how do you make decisions on the type of print for a display project?
So when we initially see a project, we'll budget it and we'll imagine how it'll print. But honestly, until we've done a prototype and understand the quantities, there's a variety of ways to print. Obviously, digital is very much in the forefront. There's flexo when you don't need the quality. You're just trying to get an image on something, maybe it's please remove for a filler, that kind of thing. But for the main body and structure, you want the highest quality available for the price at the quantity. So, you have a range of doing digital direct, which they have many more presses available for doing corrugate. There's a Nozomi, a Barbrand, and the HP printers.
See, she's going down this
I
alley
know.
now.
I know what she's saying, but you're like deer in the headlights.
Okay. And but there's still traditional litho label, which is very high quality images when we put it on the display. But there's things there's always a trade-off. So litho label can crack a lot more than you would ever see on a digital print. So it just you have to weigh the benefits versus the quality concerns and quality level needed. Some displays, depending on what they are, if they're only going to be in the store for 30 days, say a Black Friday event, solid coverage printed in flexo is fine. So it has to do with the quantity, the use, and the quality desired.
Well, the three of us actually are coming off kind of a late night last night because we were at the PIA Awards. Look, Trevor has props.
Look at that.
And you are really kind of our spokesperson and at the forefront of our PIA membership. So tell everyone what PIA is and kind of what we did last night and what we won.
It's the Martha
print.
It's
It's
Martha event. It's like a class reunion when we're there.
Yeah, it's so fun to see everybody you haven't seen any in a while. So we entered our holiday card, which included 3 ornaments, and each of the ornaments were using a different technique of our routers and laser cutters. The card itself was printed at largeprinting.com, and it was square. And then we laser cut the edge to show the city skyline.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't think of that. Yeah, the skyline of Kansas City. It's very intricate. And then there was a wooden ornament, an acrylic ornament that looked like a snowflake that showcased laser capabilities since we did not have to flame polish it. And then there was a max metal piece that we routed. So just a little bit different applications of our in-house capabilities. So with that, we won gold in our Division 2 category.
Right there.
And a lovely acrylic.
Yes.
if you will, award. And I'm very excited to be a part of it, to see all the people in printing in this industry. It's amazing. It's an amazing group.
And tell us about IDD actually did the centerpieces for the event, and what were those?
So Mr. Prinopoly
Yes, Mr.
is a character they developed for this event, and so the Monopoly was the theme, and the Monopoly board was a 3-part piece where it had Mr. Monopoly, a dice, and then a base. And all 3 parts, Bolte Hall volunteered to do the printing. They printed on vinyl, mounted it to the PVC we supplied, and then cut it to shape flat. We did a second cut underneath the dice and the base to route out the corners so that it could fold flat or at a right angle, and glued those together. And then the dice had the same treatment, where the little man, Mr. P, as I call him, he was a left and right glued together, and then his hand wasn't quite glued, so we could put the table cards that identified the who sponsored those tables. So it was awesome. It was a nice collaboration with Bolte, and then it was very exciting to see them in place last night and to see people taking them home because they wanted them. So that was fun.
Yeah, a lot of people did take them off the table, but they did save some to enter next year for the awards ceremony.
Yes,
so
yes,
that'll
very
be
exciting.
Well,
Yeah.
you talk a lot about the technical aspects of things, and we're very thankful that we have you to nerd out, because a lot of us don't know what that stuff is, but it's very important. Tell us how you manage quality and prevent errors in the printing process.
So you can't proof things enough. So initially we do a white body, some kind of a sample that's in 3D, because that's the beginning. And we make sure that the structure is correct and for where it is placed in the store, as well as how it's going to ship. So if we're shipping it by truck, but then our end user is shipping it UPS, we need to know that, because it is different in how we ship test. It's different in how the structure is built and the fillers and boxes. We also have to know at that point, if it's going to go to a distribution center, what are their specifications for how tall a product can be packed? Are we able to use anything other than a 4840 wooden pallet to put it on? So designing the structure, making sure it works, not only for the in-store where it's going to be last, but where it's going to be and how it's going to get there. So where it's going to be in between. And then from there, the graphics, we provide die lines to our client to lay the art to. We do some of that ourselves as well if that's needed. And then just the proofing there, we're going to proof it. We're going to look at a PDF. We're going to look at a printed sample. We're going to make sure not only is it correct for when it's folded, that everything is correct visually, but also for the press. Do we have it, in the right position for the best quality? Sometimes the direction of the print can be important. Most times not, but it's still something we look at everything we can. Proof. That's all we need.
You can never proof.
Anytime you skip a proof, you're sorry.
Or have another set of eyes look at it. Somebody that hasn't been looking at it for 2 weeks.
That's definitely true. That is definitely true. We will assemble our displays and put them up in our workroom and do and kind of direct some traffic in there, because sometimes so Kathy on our team is in charge of client services, so she'll look at something I've been looking at all the time, and she'll come up with some off the wall common sense comment that I never thought of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll fix that.
Thank you. Go away.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
why we have
and
her.
I mean, even Randy Edge, our owner, he plays.
Mhm.
He was he was in the workroom the other day, and he's like, "Where's everybody? I want to talk about this." Yay! And so it was wonderful. It's always good to have feedback from as many people as we can.
It's definitely a team effort. Well, you've given us so much detail, probably more than Trevor
So I'm staying
can
silent,
digest.
right? No?
But I will say that it was fun coming to IDD when I came here because you and I have worked together so long ago at print shops. And then both of us kind of transitioned into retail and the whole Walmart Bentonville environment. And then we ended up back together again all these years later. So it's so much fun to have another nerd on the team.
It is. It is. I was so excited when you were here because it's like, yes, M means 1,000. Yes, we need bleeds on the R.
I understand Martha's
I know.
language.
Oh, she's like, yeah, that's correct. I'm like, thank you.
Thank you, sweet baby Jesus. I am not talking and making this up.
This is not gibberish. It's real
Yes.
stuff.
Okay. Well, I that is enough for me to question you and put you kind of on point with all of this. I'm going to turn it over to Trevor for our lightning round.
All right. Well, Martha, this is our lightning round, something we ask all of our guests to participate in. And so before we jump into this, I do just want to say thank you. It's definitely phenomenal to have experts on your team. And
Nerds.
I'm certainly,
You can say nerds.
Nerds, experts, extremely grateful for that. And I think that a lot of our listeners will, I'm hopeful to be able to take away just how many different elements are moving on just the simplest project that you have to continually manage. And so we're just thankful that we have an expert on our team to help assist with that. So let's get into it. Again, this is lightning round, something that we ask everyone. And so, Martha, I'm going to jump right in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's one new brand you recently purchased and why?
Okay. Sadly, I haven't purchased anything
That's
new.
okay. There's some people that have said I haven't purchased anything. Martha's kind of a bargain shopper.
Yeah, I am. I'm thrift store, $1.25 general or Dollar General, whatever it takes. I tend to enjoy the hunt.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess we'll let that one pass. The next one is, if you haven't purchased anything recently, I'm not sure if you purchased anything off of TikTok or IG, but have you?
Like in app, like in Facebook, I've gotten swindled in Facebook where ads pop up and I've ordered. Have you ever done that?
No, I'm very. If I find something that I like, I will just see if Amazon has it.
Thanks for.
I just like having that one.
I probably would do the same too.
And but I mean, there were during Christmas time, the Amazon guy spent. I mean, I don't know why I didn't set him out drinks, but he was at our house every freaking day.
What's one piece of technology that you cannot live without?
Okay, I'm gonna skip my phone because that's
what I said when they asked me.
Yeah, but I know Excel. It's
Yeah,
Excel
you
for
are an
me.
Excel wizard.
I live and die in Excel, and it's just the way my brain works.
I'm glad you can't live without it because I certainly can.
I'm not a wizard. Anybody has any problems with it, we say go get Martha.
My second favorite is Monday.com, which we use as a project
you
management tool.
That, Trevor, for yours. You said Monday.com.
I do like Monday. I mean, it's Martha's really helped spearhead just the adoption and usage in our organization with Monday, and so I definitely can understand because she's our dedicated expert when it comes to Monday.com.
I will say, before I came to IDD, I always had job tickets, physical job tickets, and anywhere I worked had physical job tickets with all of the documentation. And once I came here and you guys had adopted Monday.com, those have gone away. Yeah. Everything is electronic.
It is. And we've definitely, evolved with our usage, and so much of that's to do with the way that our project management team utilizes the system. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the it's really interesting because it's had a benefit in even how we recruit specifically in the sales arena, because, if you work remote and there was a ticketing system that you're not necessarily have much visibility into, that creates a little uncertainty of what's happening with my projects. And so being able to just say, hey, we got a global dashboard that gives you visibility into your projects no matter where they're at, has been, interesting, but, well received for even in the recruiting. So Monday.com, I think I did mention that one as well, but it's good to know that you.
Well, and it's integration into HubSpot. It's used
that's
for,
nice that it integrates.
everything. And I must believe it was someone who loved Excel that programmed it, because I feel like that I can program in it. Yeah, that's what I think.
What's the worst career advice you've been given?
Don't take it personal. And this, just our industry especially when I was younger, was certainly male dominated. And that was always a dismissive, I felt, piece of advice in certain situations. It can be, very correct in that you're just being emotional, but if I didn't care about what I was doing, I feel like that's what you're saying. Don't care about what you're doing.
It's a little condescending sometimes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's more about, okay, I understand this is important to you. Let's hear what the issue is. So that's, yeah.
Definitely good, not good advice, but definitely good that you recognize that early, because, passion and emotions, that's a fine line.
It is a fine line.
For sure. And you definitely want people that care about what they do, especially
exactly.
in the printing world. Where do you go to consume information to do your job better?
Whew. Well, I'm on several feeds about AI, and obviously I'm often on LinkedIn about new products and new vendors and new places that are doing something new. I love some of the 3-dimensional visuals that you can see as billboards nowadays. Those things are awesome. We saw a lady with the flowing hair.
Flowing hair that went out from the side of the building. Yeah, that was cool.
I know.
I seen you shared that on LinkedIn as well.
I did. I love that stuff.
You're a researcher.
There's just,
you do a lot of
I kind of like to I like to dig in and find out, as much as I can once I find something interesting. So and Chat GPT is my friend. We have a little personal relationship. We talk daily. So yeah, that's another one.
Awesome. One of the last question to get you off the hot seat is, what advice would you give your younger self, your 25-year-old younger self?
A long time ago, girlfriend, wasn't it? I know.
I know.
That.
Well, when I was 25, I think, I'm going to date myself, but I think in maybe that year, it might have been the year before, was the Royals won the World Series. And anyway, I would just tell myself to stop drinking and smoking. So,
that's not what I expected you to say.
Buy a house.
Oh man.
Oh, God love you, Martha.
Yeah.
That one will take you off the hot seat.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Good way to end.
Thanks again, Martha, for coming on and joining us, and we're excited to be able to share this with our audience, and hopefully, if they're interested in connecting with you and following you on LinkedIn, I know you'll welcome that as well. And
absolutely,
thank you for coming on to kick it with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And for our last segment, we want to give you a little glimpse into our own minds. We all have those moments where we reflect, learn, and remind ourselves of certain truths. For me, it's my memo to myself, and for Christine, it's her I am for the day. It's a chance for us to be a bit vulnerable, share our thoughts, and maybe some of it will resonate with you. So I'll jump off here with my memo to myself, and it's the memo. What I was told myself was it's continuing to shift from me to we.
That's a good one.
I think that is when you're in the mix of it all, it's often to, think about me, and what are, are these emotions just me or whatever it is. But, when you're building something and you need all teammates to contribute, it's important that you continue to shift it from me to we. And, I think some of that's really relevant in my world right now. But also something I'm gravitating towards is the shift from me to we.
That's a good one. I really do like that one. Well, for my I am, which is my I am is how I start my day. I have my accountability partners and we text each other when we're having coffee and say, what are you today? What am I? And for me, as a company, we've recently all gone through the whole working genius. It's kind of like a disc profile, kind of what are your strengths and weaknesses? And it was very shocking for me to realize out of everyone in this company, we have our genius engineer in the back, Long, who just can work magic with any kind of structure. And he's innovative. He's high innovative. And for the only other person in the company to be high in innovation to be me, which was shocking, that I am innovative. And it was proven through this whole working through and figuring out what your strengths are. But, I really am. I'm just always looking at something and thinking, well, if we can't do this, can we do this? Or what's plan B and plan C? And I'm constantly have my wheels turning and being innovative to try to solve the problem. So
yes, well, you definitely are. I think it also gave me some, an aha. I was like, yeah, and then now I continuously see it being validated when I think about, even certain things I may ask you to do. I'm like, do we need to be innovative? Or do we already have a solution? I'm like, if we need to be innovative, like just ask Christine, because she'll
have some weird off the wall
way. She'll at least be that thought starter.
Yeah.
It may need to come through and kind of be refined, but I definitely get validated through that now, and so I appreciate Julie Edge for bringing that into our organization. And now we have a big board and the entire team's mapped out, so you kind of see
our little names are
their
up there.
Working frustrations as well as their working genius. Yeah. Well, that's a phenomenal I am, and you're definitely an innovator. So, all right, well, that's it for this episode, folks. We're grateful to have you along the ride as we lighten up your hustle through retail and real life.
Thanks for listening, and keep your questions and comments coming. We love tuning in to what you want to know about helping your brand stand out in store. Please like and share the podcasts. We appreciate your help getting the word out about Blue Light Special. And finally, join us for next week's episode where we will dig into logistics and freight for retail marketers.
Let's do it.
This podcast is a production of In-Store Design Display, the go-to expert for guiding and elevating your in-store experience. Our wordsmith, Julie Edge, and mix master, Jackie Vera, make all of this possible. So a big thanks to them and the entire team at In-Store Design Display.
Stay tuned for our next episode on YouTube or wherever you consume podcasts. We'd love to hear from our listeners, so please drop us a line and tell us what you want to hear about retail and real life.